Jason with the 24-month, tier 1 sub. Hello.
Everyone's probably wondering where I am. I have things to do. We have potatoes to eat.
Well, okay. Actually, I do have chips still. I got Hungry Jacks, and I still have not eaten the potato chips. Potatoes!
How could you not have eaten the chip?
I
Honestly,
was...
Hungry Jack's chips are kind of equal with me to McDonald's chips now.
Look, the burgers are better at Hungry Jacks. Everyone knows this, or Burger King. And really, that's like the only thing good for it. So the chips I feel like are mid. But here's the thing, is in the US, for example, like when you go to fast food and such like that, there isn't a case of like, you can go for McDonald's for these kinds of foods, and if you go to Hungry Jack's, Burger King in this case, you get better burgers but shittier fries. It's like, no. If you go to Burger King, you're getting better. Everything's the same except for the hamburgers. It's elevated, which does not translate to Australia. Australia, for whatever reason, they are willing to have things in their catalog shittier than McDonald's, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, but the thing is, at least our Hungry Jack's isn't, bad for you.
It's fast food code. It's all bad for us by different values.
I mean, in the sense of the fact that the burgers the Burger King in the US are known as some of the most unhygienic places.
Oh my gosh. I remember someone telling me about one of the best KFCs in Queensland, and they mentioned a suburb, and someone was like, oh, I used to work at KFC. That one had... excuse me. That one had, like, the most, like, health code violations or something crazy like that. Which made me think that the secret ingredient at KFC was... what's-a-mahoozies? Problems or crime.
You alright?
Mucus.
Oh, lovely. Not my favorite monster in Power Rangers, but he was alright.
Somehow I was coughing, and then it's just like, my throat decided to pretend to be a nose.
Yeah.
Emotional damage.
Yeah.
Alright, there we go. I have posted nearly everywhere. Telegram hasn't gotten anything, but really, frankly, I don't have any good places in Telegram to drop, because the last Australian one I went to, they were like, who the fuck is this guy? So, hello everyone! Hi.
Hello, how you doing?
How's it, everyone? Alright, so who was here first? Hendrix was here first. Jason, thank you so much for the 2-year sub. I greatly appreciate it. You're now onto, like, the full-size bottles and different designs. Furry Cures is once again cursing in my chat when they should be asleep. Let's see.
Go to bed.
Go to bed. Ah! Furry Cures threw cactar at me.
Haha. I'm just a PNG tuber. I don't get cactars thrown at me.
You know, we will need to do a thingamadiggy and make the whatsamahoozies, like, when we do the stream together thing, figure out how to do a, like, Sprout 2, like the transparency shit, so then that way, if you wear, like, crazy kind of clothes and such, if it's, like, green or anything like that, it's not gonna go, because we can't use blue, because you're blue, and we can't use red, because then we'd lose your fins, so we have to go with a green screen for you.
Okay, then you need to do something about the cactuar.
Yes. Well, for me, like, I would most likely be green screen, I think, because purple has a mix of blue and red, so it'd be very great. This is the annoying thing of when you're not, like, built for green screen usage, is you're effed up somewhere.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Where is my... There it is, because I need to get the oh-so-important D&D Night shirt at the ready. Look at this!
I am smallish behind here for now.
The D20s are natural.
Make sure you lift up those D20s so everyone can see.
See? Yes, they are natural. Yes,
there you go.
They are natural. Thank you so much. So yeah. Alrighty, Fakovia's with us. Kiaru says there's no Act 2. There absolutely is an Act 2. You're being facetious. Alright, I need to get over into the Gene Simmons campaign.
Pull the lever.
No, don't pull the lever, Fakovia. Dario's really good, to be honest. I don't know what Who's Dario?
Dario?
I don't
know.
I don't know. So many things have been thrown at me, and I'm looking at the chat, and I'm like, I have no clue what this means. Oh, how's the patching going for Baldur's Gate?
Almost done. Almost done. So
Alright,
it's just finishing up the last of the 120 gigabyte patch.
Wait. How big?
It's doing it does the 14 gigabyte for the patch thing, and then it goes through and checks all the files.
Ah, okay. Okay. Makes sense. Oh, interest. Avatar.
What happened?
Oh no, I was just like looking at the I forgot I'm the dwarf. Like I've decided to do I've been playing it offline with an entirely different character cuz I think I'm fairly sure Cookie for Bookie. Here's your cookie, Bookie. I'm fairly sure I do not have the opportunity to romance Karlach in this run. Cookie for Fakovia.
I'm sure you still could.
Well, we didn't do the first thing, which is getting her the first infernal piece. Like the tieflings all left before we did that, unfortunately. So
it doesn't. I did the piece. It doesn't cool her down enough for you to be able to do anything.
No, but like it's part of her step, right? Like it's one of the first things we got to do with her.
I think you can still romance her no matter which act you're in. There's still a chance to romance her in any act.
Okay. Alright. That's good. Alright, hide the completed. Alright, so we got mention a dowry from his wife. It's worth searching for it. Oh, I know where the dowry is for that. There's a necromancy's book, which amazingly enough, I have not done in my own campaign run just because I don't have anyone evil.
Oh yeah, didn't we give it to Gale? Didn't we have Gale read it?
Yes, I believe Gale is the man who's reading it. Lol.
Yeah, I actually found a really good necromancer's guide for Gale if you want to reset him up.
Yeah. All right.
They give him all sorts of good necromancy abilities.
Nice. So yeah, and then one of the things that we might need to fix up is giving you a really awesome piece of equipment, which I might have. I don't 100% know. Let me expand my inventory. So yeah, hang on.
At some point, I'm gonna have to put on some of the mods that make my character all big and cool.
Of course you will.
I mean, who doesn't? I mean, come on. They've even got one for the gnome.
All right, so shaft of the. Okay, so I've got at least one piece, which is shaft of a broken spear.
What was that?
Where's the thing with the broken eye? Did I?
Hey, Grant, put code on your shoulder.
Oh, hang on a sec. Let me see if I can do that. Settings. No, not settings. Studio mode. Because the Disco Fugi is technically in, it's in its own little scene, so technically speaking, it would be a case of me going like dun, like this, and then I'd have to move it somewhere else for when we go into the game screen.
Did you see it?
So I'm just gonna keep him in my classic spot there. Zeebs, she has been defrosted. We do not speak of her name. Much like the Inuits not wanting to say the word bear, we do not say her name.
Yeah. And we don't talk about Michael Bublé coming out of his cave for his next Christmas album.
Good use of the incorrect name. There's way too many Michaels in the world, though.
Yeah.
Like we have 2 Michael Jordans. So, Jesus, why do I have?
There's Michael Jackson. Hee.
All right. Send to camp. All right. I need to send those things to camp. Ugh. We are all just like looking at all these different things. All right. We got the iron flask. All right. Saloon's journal. Send that to camp. Ice crystal. Okay, cool. So I've got one of the pieces here. hang on. Ding dong. I'm gonna send those spears to camp. I should really send these scrolls to Gale to read up on. Sort by type. So yeah, so there's a number... Okay. I wonder, do you have the piece that I'm thinking you have?
I don't know, you'll have to invite me in so I can have a look.
Oh, you got Scratch's ball. Okay, I don't think you have...
I
the
took
thing-
Scratch's balls? No!
No, like the cricket ball that they have. I thought Jordan's is a sportswear. That's one of the Jordans.
It comes from Jordan.
Yeah. Gale has the Necronomicon. Oh, actually, since Gale is in our group, I will just send these scrolls straight to Gale. So then that way he can learn when he can. Prince of the Comet, Part 1 Betrayal.
Straight to gay.
A crystal ball. I'm going to send the crystal ball to camp. A hill giant's finger. All right. So I've got the icy metal, icy crystal. So I need, I think it's like an icy shaft or some shit.
Will not touch that, will not touch that, will not touch that, will not touch that.
Incredible. All right. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm in the game. I'm waiting for you to send me an invite.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I already said that 3 times now.
Sorry.
Yes, silly Wimble.
All right. Let's see what happens when it happens. All right, that worked. You're in. Alrighty.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not sure if it's going to let you use the mod, though.
Well, let's see what happens. I'm gonna do a new save, and let me move on over to the game stream and turn off the console capture, turn on the PC capture, studio mode. Where is game sources? Make sure the video is deactivated. Pause the music in the background. Alrighty then. Let's see. I'm gonna talk to Lae'zel.
Elminster.
Yep.
Even the Githyanki have heard tell of the Sage of
Was
Shadowdale.
Grant sitting on code? No, someone decided to look at my butt and they were just sort of like, butt.
Doesn't mean his every word carries wisdom, however.
Oh yeah, she's talking about the old man that told
Mistra
Gale to
demands
kill
Gale's
himself.
faith, but holds no faith in him. Why else would she demand Gale sacrifice himself, and perhaps so many others? Does she not think he can destroy the Absolute with his own immense talents? Does she not know the mighty company that he keeps? Demanding Vlaakith may be, but
Jesus
she acts
Christ,
for the good
Lae'zel.
of the Githyanki people. Mistra is concerned only for herself. Bah.
Why are you
Perhaps
comparing
he'd find
gods?
forgiveness in a fiery death. But I can't help but wonder why he'd want it at all.
You got me. I'd like you to join
It is
me.
done.
Hey! Alrighty, now we can start cooking with gas. Get the fuck ready.
No.
Just
I-
I'd be
I-
not.
Warlock pacts tend
I
to be
worry for
unforgiving
us
from
with
what you
this.
know of them. He's
Uh,
lucky he didn't face a more severe punishment.
I'll say what I can, but it won't be
we can now, because of the
It's
mod being on
Mazoran
my
grants me the
side,
power
we can
to
just have
conjure armor and
all
cast
sorts of
eldritch
people. Now,
blasts.
sleeping might be a bit weird. Some people
was
might not
infected.
actually go to sleep,
I
but
could
so
even
long as we
pour
don't run into any
hellbeasts and
scenes
summon
where we're
festering clouds.
forced into a
But
party of
I
4
promise
people
you,
like the boat
every thrust
situation,
of my blade and every
we should be able to
flame
have
that
everyone
sparks
part
for
of our
the good
team.
the coast.
I reckon we should probably just keep it to 4.
Nah. Nah,
can't
we're
utter the
like,
terms or
I have
circumstances
4,
of the
you
pact.
have 4.
I
It's
can
gonna be
tell you most
brilliant.
all else, but the pact,
Oh
unforbidden.
god, we're all gonna
Unless
die!
Mazora
We're not gonna die.
I'll
If
say
anything, it's gonna
this.
make this just a
The
little
moment
bit
I pacted
easier for
myself
us.
to Mazora, I have not regretted for a heartbeat. It was my proudest deed. It was worth the sacrifice.
I don't care about your thing. All right. Ooh, Karlach, you're coming with me.
Oh, was that Gale's granddad?
That was Elminster Orma, the most famous wizard in the realms.
Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell. But all right. Must have had something important to say to Gale if he came all this way. Good news, I
I'll
hope.
let you handle the level up. I'm gonna quickly just reset Gale too with
Whoa, now he's got it.
with Withity Withers.
Okay then.
I guess that would explain a
Wizardy Wizard?
little, but what's he going to do?
I'm
I don't see Oh, there's Wizardy.
not
There's
sure. I
Wizardy
think
Wizard.
he's of several minds.
Tell him to pick the right one. If Mistra
There's
can't think
Wizardy
of
Wizards
another
that
way to
whack.
stop the Absolute than sacrificing Gale, she's no god worth worshipping. I'll say that to Gale in, gentle terms.
Nice. Come on, we're heading out.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Alrighty. You're doing Gale's thingamadiggy?
Yeah, I'm just quickly resetting his stats and everything.
Alright. Okay. Why am I just filled with women?
Because you like the booby.
Alright, so I've got a cleric, a fighter, and a barbarian. You can have the fighter, because you're just squishy magic on that side. And I'm assuming...
How dare thou? I'm perfectly plump fishing magic on that side. Thank you.
Ooh. What do you think of the booba I sent in the server? Booba?
Don't
Is
promise,
this-
Grant. Booba.
They didn't promise... Ooh. Hey, wait. Hold on.
Hold the phone.
There's something fishy about the booba behemoth.
The fact that it's not boobery enough?
No, it's something else. Yeah, like, I don't know why, but when it comes to, like, hyper community, like, the art pieces from hyper art and, like, things that they're big and so on and so forth, because of the whole, like, anatomy is being fucked with anyway, but that's a desirable trait to see in the hyper art. There's a lot of times I see hyper art and it's just AI. So looking at...
Damn you, AI.
So, like, I saw the booba behemoth, and my first, like, I was like, ooh, booba, but then, like, for some reason my eyes were just sort of like, hang on. This feels a bit AI-y. I don't know how I feel about the AI nonsense.
You feel booba.
I feel booba. Anyway, alright, let's see. Can we get Halson with us?
No, we
You wish
can't.
to
We
speak?
can't have him yet.
Alrighty then, fine. Alrighty then, so...
We got to complete a quest line before he'll join us.
Alrighty then, fair enough. Alright, there's one piece of item that I do want to go... We might have to go back to the Underdark to get it, however. But...
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to pick this thing up and I'll probably give it to Lae'zel. Wondrous, your armor class increases by 1 if you have Bardic Inspiration, Hand Axe, Toy Chest. I'm talking about Gwen? No, I'm not talking about Gwen. I'm talking about, Ooh, Myth. Is it Mithril Ore that gives us the, like, allowing us to mold things?
Probably.
Huh. Oh, Head of the Broken Spear. That's what I was looking for. All right. So we got to look for some items because you can do this thing with some items, such as, for example, this Head of the Broken Spear. If I combine it, because the Broken Spear comes, and the Shaft of a Broken Spear, you can combine it. What?
What?
That's not right. There we go. Oh, it did work. You create Vision of the Absolute. It's a spear. Blinds targets that fail a dexterity saving throw, dealing an additional 2 to 12 piercing damage to certain creatures that sport multiple sets of eyes.
Oh.
So, but that's just one of them. So there's like... I'm gonna send that to camp. Send to camp. Send those to camp. So there's another thing that will do something similar, which is the icy stuff that we got, because we got 2 of them from... Also, I'm going to send this to Karlash the Soulstone, because I don't need to keep... that in my inventory, because I'm not going to use it immediately. Sort by type. So... there is... where's the piece? Where's the piece? I had it in here just a second ago. Here it is. So I've got the ice crystal and the icy metal. There's a 3rd piece, and if we combine them, we then get... also, what is up with my speeds? Oh, I think that's why. Pause.
Why?
Just seeding nonsense. Quote-unquote seedy shit. Alright. That should be better.
Alright.
Alrighty.
Yeah, let me just quickly prep Gale's spells.
Not to worry, not to worry. So, we're missing... alright, so... Baldur's Gate 3. Where... oh, Icy Health. Is it ingredient?
Oh, sweet. Animate Dead is now always prepared.
Used to craft the frost dropped by...
Okay, those are his cantripples.
Okay, I know where we need to go.
So we want...
alright, so we got Lae'zel. You want Asterion, no doubt.
I can't believe Mistress demanding Gale sacrifice himself to destroy the Absolute. It's just a waste of a perfectly good cult that we could be and a waste of a perfectly good Gale, I suppose. Darling, lead.
Hey,
There we go. Alrighty.
so we might as well go with False Light.
There we go. I shall... alright. I'll give you the boys.
I don't care what gender you are. Put on the maid outfit.
Boy party!
Gosh darn it, Blue. Why you gotta put me in the maid outfit? I don't look sexy in the maid outfit. Does this look sexy? Does this look D&D Night sexy to you?
Put it on, bitch.
No.
Well, then you gotta give him back his points.
I don't want to do that.
Well, it's either you give him back his points or you put on the maid outfit.
Thank you, Blue, for the 10,000 channel points and redeeming the maid outfit. Yay. Also, what is
Put it on, or you've got to give him back the or you got to give him back the point.
Alrighty then. Getting scammed? You're not getting scammed. I'm wearing the maid outfit, aren't I? I gotta wear it for an hour.
Don't worry. I got you back there. I got you back there, Blue.
Oh, I also forgot to get Will.
A shame, my first. Listen,
I'm really
I don't-
worried about
to
us
me,
having a very
the
large
faith
party
that
this big.
I hope he'll come to see that. That's the.
There we go. Alrighty.
Cool.
Multiplayer. Alright, so you got the boys. You got Gale, you got Asterion, and you got Will. I got the stream keeps buffering. Alrighty then. Why would it do that? Oh, is it doing it because of... Yes, it is. There is a sync issue. How about you stop trying to sync shit? Don't sync for the next 8 hours, OneDrive, please. Give me a second. I'm gonna try and... Let's see. So... quit out of that. Quit out of that. It doesn't... Alright. How about now? Stream buffering. Alright.
Yeah, it was really loading.
Where is... Like... Twitch has been doing that for me for a few days for everyone. It's doing it for everyone? Also, why is it set... What is this Microsoft content? Discord plugin for Stream Deck, that's fine. Alright, here we go. So, OBS. VC Face is using a little bit of the network. Discord. All right. I'm going to close some of these windows. That's a little bit annoying. All right, what's it losing out on? Frames missed due to rendering is 20 out of 8,000. Frames skipped due to encoding is 20 by 8,000. All right, let's reset that. It's dropping frames because of the network.
I wonder if it could be because of the mod doing it too. Because you're throwing too many characters in with the multiplayer.
But it's not giving me like a really bit. Like that's not. Baldur's Gate is barely doing. Replay buffer. No dropped frames so far. But my god, my throat. One moment.
Eating it a lozenge.
Lozenge? Maybe. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna get a lozenge right now. Let me just drink some water, get a lozenge. Everyone else, there's probably gonna be an advertisement going off like really quickly, I'm sorry to say, because of programming. Get some water, go to the bathroom and such like that. I'm grabbing myself a lozenge.
Oh, so we can actually still go back to the older areas. One or more players. Oh.
One or more players denied the request, failure to answer in time, or could not respond due to... Oh, because you wanted to go to the earlier areas.
Oh, yeah, accidentally. Sorry. Just, yeah, sorry. I didn't know that was going to do that.
Not to worry. All right, let's level up some peeps real quick. Feats. Let's see. She's on a +3. She's already got the sharpshooter to ignore the high ground nonsense. Increased strength by 1. Incoming damage from also decreases by 3 while you're wearing heavy armor.
Did you see it?
Yes, please. We're gonna grab that heavy armor mastery, so then that way she has a reason to wear heavy armor. Let's see. You're a level 6 barbarian. We're not changing your animal heart. You're good as you are. Advantages on strength check. Resistance to falling. Which one was the one I was going to go for? You can add an additional strength modifier to attack rolls against bleeding or poisoned targets and gain proficiency in survival? Yourself and nearby allies. Actually, let's go with the elk. Bonus to movement speed. Yep. Alrighty. That's all my peoples. Multiplayer. I am going to give you Will. There we go. I've got 4 people. You've got 4 people.
Scratch his tail,
Alright.
wags enthusiasm. Scratch his tongue, lolls.
Alrighty.
Grant's got all the mummies, and I got all the daddies.
Yep. Alrighty then. So one of the places we need to go to complete an item, which would be useful either for Gale or maybe even for yourself, is we got to go to Selunite's outpost.
Yep.
See, I told you the mod wasn't the reason for it.
Just making sure. Sound off 1, 2. Sound off 3.
So,
Alrighty. So, we need to go...
Only if my people extract them. The only other cure is the blade.
Alright. So, there is some place we can go. There's these petrified, drow. Be mindful, however... Give me a second. I'm just gonna blow some shit up.
Don't blow some shit up.
There we go. Alright. So, this is going to be a bit of metagaming here, but there's a reason why all these drow are as they are. Do not follow too closely behind me, okay? Because there is a, what's-a-mahoozy person. Never mind, you got surprised as well.
Surprise!
All these drow are a little bit,
They're a little stiff.
just a bit stiff. Bit
I'll
stoned.
put Gale in your group on that one.
Because the way they
They're
do
a
it
bit
is
hard.
they pick the 3 closest.
Oh, it's a beholder.
Yes.
What's up, bitch?
Alright, so... It unpetrifies some peeps. In this case, Dorum is one of them.
Oh, and has some work for them.
Yeah. So everyone is surprised. Dorum is now alive. Let's see. So... Nope, everyone was surprised in that moment there. Alright.
Surprise, cockbag!
Yeehaw, chuckle nuts. Ready to sing or shriek?
And I'm allowed to
What?
say that too because I am gay.
One D4 bonus to attack rolls and charisma, wisdom, intelligence saving. Interesting. Alright, and then... Not enough resources for action. Fair enough.
On the move.
Alright, no longer blinded. Spectator
Blinded by the
unpetrifies
light.
someone else. And tries to move. Fuck you, Spectator.
He just paralyzed friggin'
Yeah. Oh, it's a flaming sphere.
Here, I thought I was just on fire.
Alrighty, I am going to path is interrupt. Oh, because I'm blind. I don't... It's because I'm blind, isn't it?
And here I thought it was just because you were white.
Darn.
Gone, just out of sight.
I'm heating up.
Alrighty, I am going to get... Alrighty. I am going to move over into this bigger area here. And can I? Yes, I can.
What's
Awesome.
it gonna take?
Nope. Damn.
Oh! Wait, do I have... Nope, I don't have non-lethal damage turned on. I just hit him so hard he knocked prone. Actually, you know what? I will knock him out. There we go. So he's knocked out now. Ooh, nice fireball. Alright. All that's left is U-code and the flaming sphere. Nice. Okay,
Wait, what if we kill him without killing them? Will they be released?
Yeah, they will, but they want to attack us. That's why I'm knocking them out. Yep. Let's use the luck.
Alright, well, my team will focus on taking out the Spectre then.
Alright. Get fucked.
I think it only does a maximum of 8, doesn't it?
My path be true.
Oh my god, Lizzie. There we go. Alright, she needs to do another 17. I'll leave the action surge for when I need to help you out with the specters.
Yeah.
Alright, yay, let's try the shove. There we go. Alright, they've unpetrified another... Yeah, he does a lot of damage.
That's a lot of brain damage.
And
A little help, please.
Alright. Rage ends early. Aspect is already active. Grant yourself an... Alright, yeah, it's a permanent class thing. I'm gonna rage. And I am gonna hit him with my hammer. Alright. Knock him prone. Hindering the attack. They're too far away from me to hit them now.
Oh, sorry.
Alrighty, oh, she's incapacitated. Wait, is she petrified right now? No, just paralyzed. Okay. Cool. Good, good. Normally only 4 in the party? Yeah, but there's 4 on my side and 4 in Code's thingy-majiggy, so we're doing well. Hopefully this will help with combat just a little bit. Nice. Alright,
If it does turn to be problematic, we can always turn it off.
which I don't think is the case.
I just mean in cutscenes or anything like that.
Oh, it will pick the 3 closest people from whoever initiated contact. Jump. Alright, try to hit this Lazelle. There we go. There we go. Knocked out.
Up your things.
Make way.